Time is X minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
It's the Rocket Hour. Y'all are now tuned in. Time to hit the pick four that you'd love to win. If your money's coming slow, step on the faster track with your host, Ricky Pasternak. Let's go.
What's up, guys? We're back on a Friday for the Rocket Hour. Last day of the week for us to make up for some just shitty tickets the last 2 days. That's the best way I can describe it. Both days I felt like, okay, we were close there, but really we weren't at the same time. We did talk about a lot of the horses that won the races the last 2 days on this show, whether it was us or the commenters. So hopefully, though, we can get a ticket home today. Ricky, late pick four at Keeneland one more day. Are we ready?
Yeah, we got to get back to cashing one of these things. Last week we could have missed. This week we've been on the struggle bus, so we got to get back into it. We got to cash one of these tickets.
We definitely have been on the struggle bus, and it's kind of a sad day, Ricky. This will be Welder's last start tonight at Remington Park. He is going to retire after this race. He's the all-time wins leader at Remington Park. He could tie the record. He runs in Oklahoma bred stakes. He could tie the record for most wins in that stakes race tonight as well. But this is it. I know you didn't probably follow him like I did, but still, it's in the Venera in Oklahoma racing. So Welder's last race tonight at Remington Park. Make sure to check that out as well. But we'll jump right into what we're doing today, and we're going to start off with race 7 at Keeneland. So the pick four is 7, 8, 9, and 10 today for the late pick four at Keeneland. And we're on the turf to start it off, Ricky. We're going to go an allowance, going 1 mile and a 16th on the turf. Fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and upward. I'll put the tickets up now. It looks like you and I both have kind of agreed that you need to go deep in this spot. It looks like you've went 5 deep, so I'll let you kick us off here, and you can go through your horses.
Yeah, we have 2 common horses, so I guess we're halfway there. I'll talk about a long shot, and that's the 4, Bacchanalia. Always just kind of runs a pretty solid race for the most part. I'm not sure that the talent really matches up, but she's faced good horses in New York. Her most recent race, an allowance optional claiming race, grabbing the lead and failing to kind of hold on there. And she ran pretty much the same race on May 23rd. She was able to hold on for third to a horse, Call Me Love, who's probably slightly better than this group as a whole. Her best races are really run on the front end. And it's ironic here that the Keeneland speed has not really been holding up. It's a lot of horses coming off the pace or at least sitting mid-pack. I just think when we take a look at this group, she has the ability to kind of be versatile, and I think she's too consistent to leave off at 12-1. Ricardo Santana taking over for Irad obviously isn't a bad move as well, and Brennan Walsh, obviously a very, very good trainer, especially when it comes to turf racing here in Kentucky. So I just kind of like the connections. There's really nothing to hate about this horse, and usually when you get 12-1, there's a lot to hate. So I think she's just a good ad there. Then we get to the 5, who I'll skip in a minute. I'll talk about the 9, Joy Epiphora. Kind of similar, right? When we look at her last 2 races in the Beverly D, she lost to Santa Barbara, Mean Mary, Lamista, a race we talked about maybe on Wednesday or maybe yesterday. It was just a really, really good race. And she didn't run horribly. I mean, all those horses are better. The horse, she was almost 22-1. I think finishing 4th is solid in the 5-horse field there. It was the 2-horse that we talked about on Wednesday, Naval Laughter, now that we're talking about it again. And then ran second in the Modesty to Naval Laughter. I think at 8-1, she just makes a lot of sense. I understand maybe why no one wants to use her. She hasn't won in a very, very, very long time. So I understand the hesitancy, but she's my top choice. And I think I'm kind of going out on a limb using an 8-1 for a horse who hasn't won in quite some time. The 10 I'll skip because you used, but then the 11 I'll talk about. Market Rumor, again, extremely, extremely consistent certainly looks like a turf horse. As soon as she made that move over the summer in July and August at Colonial Downs, she's looked pretty good doing it. Chris Landeros has been aboard for all of her races this year. I think that's important as well. I'm happy that she's going to be tested here at Keeneland. This is probably going to be her toughest turf race. One can make the case that the old Nelson Stakes was pretty good as well at Colonial Downs, but these allowance races at Keeneland, a lot of them pop up as stakes races or stakes quality allowance type of races. I'm with your original statement. I think you have to go deep, and I'm going to try to get some prices home as well. And I did use the 5 and 10 that I'll let you talk about a little bit.
Before I talk about mine, I wanted to ask you about the 4 Bacchanalia, because I think, I didn't use that horse, but I was mildly interested in that horse. What do you make of it when a Chad Brown horse leaves his barn and goes to another trainer who's pretty solid in Brendan Walsh? Sometimes when a Chad horse leaves the barn and it's like a trainer that we're not real happy with, we automatically downgrade. But what do you think when this kind of situation happens? Obviously, Brendan Walsh is a good trainer. Not a guy you see and go, oh gosh, I can't do that. Like, not the opposite. Like, he's very good. What do you make of the barn switch when it's from a really good trainer or maybe the elite trainer to just a good trainer?
The best way I could describe it is, I guess, in sports, when you have a really good coach, but it just doesn't click. Maybe there's just something that this trainer, or it's not, or in this case, it's Brendan Walsh, but another good trainer can pick up on. I mean, you'd expect someone like Chad Brown to really get the most out of his turf horses, but once in a while, there's just something that he didn't see. And we don't really know if Brendan Walsh has picked up on it, to be quite honest with you, because Bacchanalia still hasn't won. It's not like Bacchanalia has become this amazing horse where you're kind of looking at Chad Brown. Just a slight tweak with a mare like this, who's already 5, can make a big difference. I don't really think to be honest, I'm not really sure how much of a downgrade it is, because when we look at this field as a whole, I think you can poke holes in a lot of horses. Some horses obviously look better than others, but we haven't seen this horse. Maybe the layoff will help. Chad Brown obviously had this horse on June 27th and now making the move. Yeah, Brendan Walsh isn't as good, but for me, I think that we still have a good enough trainer where I'm kind of just looking past it.
Yeah, I don't know. I just thought that was kind of an interesting thought that came in my mind when you started talking about the 4. And I should clarify, a great trainer percentage wise to a good trainer percentage wise. I have no idea the training methods of either one of these horses. I mean, hell, maybe Brendan Walsh is a better horseman than Chad Brown. I don't know that for sure. I've never had horses with either one of them, obviously, but from a percentage perspective, you got like the elite with Chad Brown, and then just somebody you would call solid or good percentage wise, again, with Brendan Walsh. So I don't know. I just thought that was interesting. I see that sometimes, and it doesn't really bother me. At the same time, you think, well, why did you switch? So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. Yeah, for me, I went 4 deep here, going 2, 3, 5, and 10. I'll just go in order. I don't really have a strong opinion on what order they'll finish in. I did put the 5 on top, but I don't particularly just love it. I think this horse has the class over this field, but it's been a long time since she's won, but I do think she's going to be in the mix. I think this field's a little bit weaker than what she's been seeing. That's the biggest thing. I think if she can just kind of run her normal race, it'll give her a good shot to win. I think the 10 Altos Award is kind of interesting as well. This horse always has put up solid efforts on the turf, but they've never given her 2 starts in a row over the surface until today. I think that is going to be a big key here. Exits out of a really nice stakes race at Kentucky Downs. Got beat by Sweet Melania and Hindi Woods. I think Hindi Woods, pretty good horse, would definitely be favored here. I just think getting on the turf for the second straight time, I think it'll help Altos Awards. So I thought I wanted to throw that horse on the ticket for that reason, finally getting a little consistency. And then with the 2 and the 3, I know what you're kind of thinking with the 3. I mean, sure, the horse won in Indiana by 5, but, it's Indiana. I don't know. The horse also won at Kentucky Down. I think the horse is the one that gets out in front. My worry is kind of the thing that you mentioned, that speed horses just haven't done that well on the turf this meet, so that is going to be a little bit of a question mark. But I do think the horse is the one that's going to be out in front. And then the 2 Curly Ruth, this is, I don't know, kind of a Ricky type of horse in a way. The horse is just super consistent, always around, always there with a chance. I think she has shown the ability to sit off when that pace gets hot and still be able to close. So I think she's going to get kind of a stalking trip here. So that's kind of where I landed, 2, 3, 5, and 10. I could, I'm thinking about this 11 Market Rumor, and you are right. Since we got to the turf here, this horse has been good. I don't know. You could kind of convince me to add this 11. She looks pretty sharp. I did single later on in the sequence, so I might end up adding this 11 before it's over.
Well, the best convincing I could do is the 2 turf efforts that she's run are better than any of her dirt efforts this year.
Yeah.
Even when she ran on the dirt here back in April to Spice is Nice, I mean, she's still, maybe there's just something about Lexington. I mean, I really can't put my hand on it. Ian Wilkes has struggled a little bit at the meet. And that's, I don't really put too much into that. So is Landeros. Landeros only has like 5 mounts when this was printed out. So the change has been made. I see at the 11. There's just, what this really comes down to? There's just more upside, right? The 11 has more upside than, a horse like, and same thing with the 10. The 10 has upside on the surface as well. Like, for example, we'll talk about a horse that we both didn't use, like the 8. Okay, like we know what the 8 is. The 8, like to me, I don't know why that horse is 5-1. To be honest, I kind of think that horse is dog crap, to be quite honest with you. If you're losing at a starter allowance at Kentucky Downs to Breeze Rider, who I have zero interest in, and you even questioned it a little bit. Mm-hmm. Now we're going to use that horse at a shorter price. Don't understand that. Unless Tyler Gaffleone gets more out of this horse than some of the other riders, but then what that comment would be suggesting would be Joel Rosario, Irad Ortiz, Ricardo Santana didn't do a great job. I mean, she actually went from protected spots earlier this year in for a tag, runs better, and then back to a protected, and wasn't, lost by 2 again to Breeze Rider, who's worse odds, more, 6-1 versus 5-1. I don't understand that 8 at all. Obviously you didn't use the 8, but that's a horse to me that is a complete fade. I know last night on Blinkers Off you had pound or fade.
Yeah.
I questioned the pound part. I think that was but the fade part I liked, and that's where I'm at here. The fade. The 8 to me is a complete fade. Obviously for you as well. Are you kind of along the same lines as me? Just it doesn't really make sense at 5-1.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it makes any sense at all at 5-1. And like I said, I'll take 6-1 on the horse that beat her very easily last time out. So I couldn't figure that one out either. I guess it's just a situation where if it says Mike Maker in the program, they make him low odds. But you know what? He hasn't won in like forever. It feels like Maker's just really struggling right now. So I never even considered the 8 for a second, to be completely honest. So watch Maker and Gaffleone just beat us. That's probably what will happen.
And that's the thing. Like, there's nothing to suggest this horse can really run. And I don't know what the comments are saying, if there's anything that we can get up there that we can discuss. But starter allowance, just on that move alone, it's not good enough. I mean, and she already lost to, again, at least you used a 3. So it's like, okay, I kind of can put some stock into that. I'm not putting any stock into that at all. Even I think the 3 is a decent horse. Like, I could see the 3 winning. If the 3 already just beat the 8, it's not like we're talking about months ago. We're talking about 5 weeks ago. So yeah, I don't get it. And the idea of the morning line odds are to give us an indication of what that horse will go off at when they break from the gate. I'll take a horse that just finished second. We're talking about I'll talk about the 11. Just finished second by a neck in a stakes race. Like, to a horse that went on to win next time out. So this is a good opportunity. One of the biggest questions, when do I fade a good trainer? This is exactly a time to do that. So when we go through the trainers here, they're all pretty good. I mean, I think we'd be comfortable taking any of these trainers for the most part. So this would be a good time to fade Mike Maker.
I want to get to a couple of the comments here. Dennis says, naval laughter. Everyone here was all over the horse and turn around and not using the 9 who came out of that same race as naval laughter is crazy. Here's what it was for me, to be completely blunt. How did naval laughter do on Wednesday? Horrible. So
Well,
maybe I misjudged naval laughter and misjudged that race.
Well, I used the 9.
I know, but he's telling me I did not use the 9.
No, but he said everyone here was all over and then not using the 9. I don't know if that's directed for you. That might have been directed for me also.
Well, since you used the 9 and I didn't, I'm gonna guess it's directed at me.
Well, it's also Dennis, so we're not entirely sure if it's still directed for me and you. That's my ultimate point. Yeah, this is all you because I used the 9. But you're right, naval laughter kind of stunk. And I thought we were going to get a better price. First of all, that price, it wasn't worth using anyway. No. But I thought we would get maybe 6 or 8 to 1. She was horrible. She was absolutely horrible. And to be quite honest, I guess we can dive into that race a little bit. Even if she won, there was no way using that price was good because you go from 10 to 1 to 2 to 1.
Yeah.
You better run off the screen if you're going to be bet like that. So she better have won by 4. Like winning by a neck isn't good enough when you're bet like that. So yeah, she didn't even run well. So I don't.
She was off the screen all right, but the other way, the bad way, she was 9th in that race. I mean, she was awful, and so I'm just like, you know what? I think I may have made a mistake thinking that horse it was going to come out of the race and be good. That's exactly why I went against the 9. Obviously, if naval laughter would have won, or even ran 2nd or 3rd, or didn't quit, maybe I would have played the 9 here. But I thought it was a little bit of a play against. Some people disagree, though. Looks like Charles thinks the 9 makes a lot of sense. So
Charles,
yeah, I don't know. Maybe you're gonna be right, Ricky. Maybe the 9 just dominates here, but I'm just not a huge fan after what I saw from naval laughter. All right, let's go here. Dennis, I think you said you think you may have the horses confused. You might be thinking about a horse that was also number 2. They were both number 2 that ran yesterday, who got beat late and got 2nd. I can't think of the horse's name. A couple of us were on it yesterday too. You might have those flip-flops because they were both number 2s. And I think they were both in like the second legs of the pick 4s on Wednesday and then on Thursday. So that maybe you're thinking. I want to get to this comment though. The 3 for 3 at the distance. Sydney likes that. She also likes the 1 a bit, but hasn't won in forever. What do you think of the 1? The 1's 20 to 1 on the morning line. We've had a couple of long prices, morning line prices on the turf win at Keeneland these last 2 days. Does the 1 kind of fit the mold as one you think can win here?
I've seen worse 20 to 1 shots. I'll just leave it at that. I don't think she's good, but if you're looking for a bomb, I can see it because in this type of spot, 2 starts back, finished 2nd by 3/4 of a line, and then ran against Hendy Woods, who we talked about, who would probably be favored, only lost by 3 lines. Again, I'd have to pretty much hit the all button, but she's not horrible. I've seen big long shots worse, to be quite honest with you. I mean, there's only one horse in here that's worse, but that doesn't make her bad. And this is the analogy I would use. If you're at Harvard Law, just because you might be the worst, the worst kid, I shouldn't say that. You have the lowest grade, you're second lowest in a group of 11 kids, doesn't make you dumb. You're at Harvard Law. If you're the second worst in this field, this is a really good field. I don't think that's a bad thing. So I could see it. I just would have to pretty much use them all to get there.
And to be honest, when you started that, I thought this is going to get wild, but that makes sense, what you said. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean, you're at Harvard Law. I mean, you're not an idiot. You got into Harvard Law.
Yeah, exactly.
It is what it is.
That. Charles says he thinks the 11 makes even more sense. Yeah, I threw that 11 on the ticket. You guys convinced me. I don't know why I didn't have her on there originally. She does make a ton of sense. All right, let's move on. I think we've covered that race pretty well. So we'll move on to the 8th race. So hopefully we're alive going into this one. It looks like we both have went short in this one. We're on the dirt for this one. Allowance going 7 furlongs, $86,000 purse, fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and upward. Once again, Yeah, you went with the two favorites, the 2 and the 5. I'm going to single with this 5 horse. Tell us what you saw on this one.
The only reason I'm singling. The only reason I'm not singling is because of what we saw yesterday with Olympiad and Milliken. That experience just stuck with me. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's race maybe race 8 or 9. It was the 5 and 6 horse. Everyone thought that the horse that won by 8 at Ellis would be a monster. And to be quite honest, he was really, really good. But even you texted me and said, I think the experience kind of played out. And now if Milliken were to run the same race, he's going to be 3 to 5, 4 to 5, with another start. For me, Silver Strand, Sloppy Seal, now facing winner Center Isle, has run against much better horses, a.k.a. Casual and Frank's Rocket. Even Kansas Kiss is a nice horse. She has the layoff issue. I actually put Center Isle on top. But we haven't seen her in 10 and a half months. I mean, I don't care what trainer you are, to get a true indication of how someone's going to run after 10 and a half months is tough. So that's just where I went. The 5 is probably more talented, but there's a few question marks there as well. How is she going to feel when their horse is pressing her? To be quite honest, I think the rest of the horses stink, and I really don't see them having a chance. So with that being said, it's the 2 and 5 for me. I know you singled the 5, so it was more of an experience factor for me than anything.
A couple of things to talk about here. Charles says, what a race, talking about Milliken and Olympiad yesterday, and it really was. I tweeted it out as soon as that race was over. It's like that's the kind of race, I just don't know that we've seen in the last couple of weeks. So 2 really good horses going at it. Dennis kind of blaming Hernandez here a little bit, said Pratt could have won on either horse. He outbroke Hernandez and then was 3 inches lower and pushing with both hands. So
which race? Oh, the Olympiad race. I didn't know. Okay.
Yeah. So there's that. Dennis also says he does not like the 2 at all. Brown gave up on a $1.5 million purchase. So yeah, I was going to kick it back to you once again here, Ricky. Here we are again with a Chad Brown horse going to another trainer, Lobo, and kind of the same way. He's got good percentages, but not Chad Brown type percentages. What did you make of the trainer change here?
So this is a little different. I don't know how long ago this was when I mentioned it. OXO Equine, they must be printing money. I don't know where they do it. I don't know how they do it, but if someone knows, please tell me, because it seems like, we have like a $500,000 purchase now. We'll just give you an extra $1 million because we feel like it. They by far have the most expensive purchase prices I've ever seen. And it's always an OXO more times than not. This is a little different. I kind of agree with Dennis here that maybe Chad might have just given up or didn't want this horse in the barn. I also tend to agree with the statement that with my statement, which this horse just fits this race. That's kind of the way I try to look at things. And I understand that's kind of having a blind eye to these sort of situations. But Dennis, if Chad Brown were to stay on this horse, not stay on, to continue to train, would you have the same feeling? If you can honestly tell me that I would have a different feeling, then I don't take, I'm not going to count it against the horse. Like Paulo Lobo's much smaller barn, not nearly well as known, but decent, at Aaron's point, decent percentages. So I agree with Dennis a little bit more here as opposed to the 4 Bacchanalia, where maybe Chad just couldn't get the best or something wasn't clicking, and as opposed to this where he maybe just gave up. So I think the situation's a little different. But again, if Chad Brown, or Aaron, I'll even ask you, if Chad Brown's name was still there, would you think any differently of this horse?
Yeah, I mean, yes, I would, to be completely honest. I certainly would. I agree with the sentiment that in the last race, I don't think it makes as much difference as this race. It's kind of strange here. OXO, they kind of move their horses around though, right? I mean, they do kind of make some changes here and there. So I don't know what to make of it, to be completely honest. I certainly will be drop dead shocked if somebody other than the 2 or the 5 wins this race. Yeah. This field, and I think you said it, Ricky, is pretty soft outside these 2. I usually don't like to single a horse like the 5 who ran a big maiden and now is up against winners for the first time. But you look at this and it's like, well, there, even if the 5 kind of bounces off that race, she can still beat the 1, the 3, the 4, the 6, the 7, the 8. So then it comes down to, well, okay, you got a former Chad Brown horse now with the new trainer off of a year layoff. And you look at this and it's like, I don't think the 5 is going to be pressured much here, even though logic would tell you, okay, a little bit tougher from a pace standpoint now as we move up. I don't know. On paper, she looked faster than everybody else early. Bill Mott winner on debut. Usually Bill Mott improves his horse's second out. So if they take another step off of that race, I think they're running for second here. I think Silverstrand gets the job done. I think she takes him gate to wire. And I think it's going to be a horse based off today, if it goes how I'm thinking, that's going to get over bet next time out because it's going to go into a stakes and it's going to have 2 nice wins on the resume. I would just remember this field. Like a lot of times we'll look at allowance race at Keeneland and we'll just assume, oh, that was a really good field she beat. Remember with Silverstrand, if she wins today, this field wasn't much. All right. So it was a combination of, I think this horse is pretty good. No question about it. Mott second out. I like that. And just the field not being that great.
Yeah, the best case I would make for Silverstrand, she ran against 2 horses in Shalimar Gardens and Sarah Harper, who did go on to win their next start. So maybe that maiden special weight field's a little bit better than it looked on that afternoon. It was a 6-horse field, sloppy sealed.
And this is a dumb comment. I mean, I'll definitely preference that right there. But is there a chance that maiden field was better than this field today?
I would say yes, but I'll preface that yes by saying we don't know at the moment. Like we need, I think maybe down the road we can assess and say that was a good maiden special weight field.
No. What I'm saying is, just real quick, what I'm saying is, I'm not saying it is. You're not saying it is, but there's a chance when this race is over, we'll text each other like we do after the races are over, and we'll say, yeah, that field, I think she beat better horses in the maiden. I think there's a chance, and there's usually not much of a chance of that, but I think in this situation there is.
Yeah, well, again, a lot of those, like, it's hard. Like, I'm looking up Shalimar Gardens, who hasn't been, who broke the maiden in Belmont and hasn't been seen since then. Same thing with Sarah Harper. I'm looking it up now. I'm assuming, Sarah Harper just broke her maiden at Churchill Downs, but both of those races came in September. So, it would be hard to make that judgment now because those horses haven't come back and done anything. We just haven't seen them. But, it's certainly possible. I mean, Center Isle's still a decent horse. Like, and that's kind of where I was at on her. It's like, okay, she's not horrible. She lost to Frank's Rocket twice by a combined 4 1/4 lengths in 2 races. I mean, it's not really that bad, like in 2 stakes races. So it's one thing if it's like, oh, like this horse doesn't look good. I mean, I think a lot of people wouldn't have this opinion if it still said Chad Brown, or instead of Chad Brown, it said Todd Pletcher, or it said Bill Mott, or it said, well, maybe not Bill Mott because he was the 5. It said, I don't know, someone else. Like, just because it's saying Paulo Lobo. Like, I don't know. I tend to think the talent of this too, she's still going to run a decent race, I think. And she only has to beat 1 real horse, and that would be the 5.
So to jump in on the 2 maidens that won, and again, we're going to compare speed figures, and that is not an exact science at all, but it's still a kind of a tool. So Sarah Harper, who finished 3rd in that maiden, came back to win second out at Churchill Downs, earning a 108 time form figure. That's a better figure than anybody in this race. And then the 3 that day, Shalimar Gardens earned a 101 for her win. And that is better than everybody except the 2 favorites here, the 2 and the 6. So I don't know. I just think that maiden race was a little bit better than what we're even going to see here. We'll see what happens. A couple comments before we go on to the next one. Let me find.
Well, what I will say, those 2 horses, Shalimar Gardens and Sarah Harper, would at least be 3rd and 4th in this field.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, for sure. The one is interesting. Sydney says, don't think she wins. Jerry B, another one coming off a long layoff. Consistent horse, Ricky, hits the board. I guess off the layoff, maybe. I mean, the horse is gonna have to improve to win. I don't know. Maybe hits the board at a price though, right?
Yeah, this horse is BS. At this level. Like, I'm sorry. She's got zero chance. Yeah, I agree with Cindy. The one is interesting, but don't like. I mean, for the sake of this show, she just doesn't do us anything because I can't see her winning. If you like playing underneath, maybe you got a shot there.
Yeah, like Dennis says, use underneath. Yeah, for the sake of what we're trying to do, I don't think that horse is a use. But yeah, there's obviously exactas, tries, supers, and you can get that horse involved. Charles says 7 has a chance. Hartman and Mermill, dangerous. Merrill, I should say. The 7, codename K, another horse coming off the layoff, not quite as long as the 2 and the 1, but about 4 months there. Interesting only because of the connections. I would say that the horse really hasn't done a whole lot of running.
I'm not even interested based on the connections. Like, you can't lose your last 2 races. First of all, she's beaten 1 horse in her last 2. She didn't beat anyone last time out. She got eased, and she's lost her last 2 races by a combined 40. Yeah, don't think so.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan either. But Hartman certainly can pull off miracles sometimes, so keep that in mind. All right, let's move on though. I'll tell you what, we've covered almost every horse in these races so far. We're doing well, I think, Ricky, if I do say so myself. Let's go to the feature though. I think this is going to be a fun one. The Grade 3 Buffalo Trace Franklin County Stakes. We're on the turf here, going 5.5 furlongs, a nice purse of $150,000 for fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and upward. The 11 is the only scratch. It's not showing up on Equibase yet. Well, yes, it is over on the right-hand column. The 11 is out, so it'll leave us with a field of 11. Yeah, I debated here for a while what to do. I ended up going 4 deep. I'll let you go first, though. It looks like you're 3 deep in this spot.
Yeah, I just went with the logical horses. I'm still waiting for Campanella to get back to some of her better races, to be quite honest with you. And I'm not going to sit here and criticize Wesley Ward. But when you just look at this horse debuting at Gulfstream, then goes overseas, not only does she stay in England, now she goes to France, then she goes to Keeneland, then she goes back to Ascot, then she goes back to France. It's like, let's pump the brakes a little bit. Think about it. This is the best way I can describe it. Think about it as a person going overseas, whether it's England or Asia maybe, or whatever, you're traveling, and you think about that time that it takes you and it could wear you down. I think it has a massive effect on horses. Things are just different. Life is just different and she has racked up the air miles, and I think that's really affected her. And she's coming back to Keeneland again. I mean, she's traveled a lot. Her talent's probably better than anyone else in this field, but she just simply can't be trusted. I mean, she was 9-5 last time out and got eased. So I don't know what to make there. And then the 5 and 6, if you like one, I think you like the other, to be quite honest with you. I mean, they ran in in a stakes race at Kentucky Downs last time out. Catch a Bid did everything she could to close, while In Good Spirits was the complete opposite. I'm talking about the Mint Lady Sprint. That was a Grade 3 event. They just ran completely different races, and I have a feeling we're going to be seeing that again. You'll see In Good Spirits probably a little bit closer, while Catch a Bid's coming from well out of it. To be quite honest, they're the same horse in terms of talent. They just run different styles. I don't know if we're going to get these prices, to be quite honest with you. I think the 4 Campanella is going to take money. You used the 4, 5, and 6 as well, but you also included the 1. And the 1 is She Is So Special, Wayne Catalano, Flavian Pratt. I didn't get there at all. Not even my 4th horse. So what, obviously you could talk about the 4, 5, and 6 if I missed something, but what did you see about the 1 that made you interested?
Well, I'll comment on the 4 real quick. All things being equal, I'm with you. I think that horse wins, but it's just been all over the world. So we'll see if the horse shows up with the best effort. All right, number 1, She's So Special, moves to Catalano after being trained by Miller. I just thought it was interesting. The horse is stabled up in California where Flavien Prat is, and then Flavien Prat jumps aboard here. He's never rode for Catalano, and that could just be because Catalano hadn't had a horse worth his riding. But I don't know. I just thought the Flavien Prat angle was enough to say, well, let's throw it on here, because I'm with you. The 4, 5, 6, certainly the logical ones. I don't trust any of them. And I just kind of, enough to just say, all right, that's it. I did single in a sequence, so I thought I could go a little bit deeper here. I just thought Flavien Prat getting aboard was enough to make me go, that's kind of interesting. I think the one kind of sits a nice stalking pace in here. I kind of like the cut back in distance for this horse. There's some 6 furlong races on the resume that aren't too bad. The last time this horse ran at 5.5 exactly, she won. And then that was way back, I know, in 2020, but still the horse has 2 wins at 3 wins at 5.5 furlongs, 3 for 3. So it's enough there to think, yeah, I'll give this horse a little bit of a shot with Flavien Prat jumping aboard. I get it if you don't want to play the one here, but I think at 15-1, the horse makes a little bit of sense.
Yeah, no, there are a lot of interesting things to like about the horse. Again, Prat getting aboard Wayne Catalano hasn't happened. You would think you would have thought it happened once by some miracle. It just hasn't. Yeah. And Pratt's willing to go places. Like in New York, it's a little different because there's much better racing, but Pratt's on the move a decent amount. Prat was at Monmouth, I believe, for the Haskell weekend. Was at Kentucky Downs. He travels and just never got aboard a Catalano. This horse was a vet scratch on August 26th. I don't really know what that's about, considering she ran, on the 14th. So I don't know what race was on the 26th that she was scratched out of. I don't have that information. I don't even know if she was even going to run on the 26th. Maybe they just put it down. That's interesting. At a price, she makes sense. I also think cutting back might be a little bit better for her. She went in the Osanitas a mile, and then the allowance optional claiming going a mile. Now we're 5.5 furlong. She's extremely versatile, so I don't hate it as a long shot. I thought there were a few horses that we should talk about. Neither of us used the 9, 10, or 12. All horses between 4-1 and 8-1. All horses that make sense. The 9 and the 10 are very similar to the 5 and 6. What I mean by that is if you like one, you probably like the other, in my opinion, because they ran 1-2 in this sprint PVG preview ladies sprint stakes at 100 names for that stakes race at Ellis Park. I'm kind of throwing that one out. I didn't think that field was all that great. What say you? Same kind of thinking there, because they ran against In Good Spirits and Catch a Bit, and the 10 didn't do much.
Yeah, Sydney said it as you were talking there, or right before you were talking, actually. She thinks the 9 has a chance, and there it is. Hartman and Morrill once again showing up in a race for the second straight time. With the 9, I do think the horse gets out in front, and that could be dangerous. But like we said, this meet, that the turf hasn't been playing to speed much, and that's kind of what I kind of frowned upon. And also, I'm with you. I don't know what those races were that these two have come out of. I'm just not quite sure. I just thought the 4, 5, 6 looked to be a touch better. The one I thought was interesting that you didn't, or maybe you mentioned it, I missed it, but the 12 is actually the second choice on the board. I don't know. I thought the 12 was one you could kind of leave off as well. Cutting back in distance after the Woodbine Mile last time out was a disaster, but from that far outside post, I'm not sure on the 12. But did you consider the 12 at all?
A little. She's the 4th horse.
Okay.
For me, it's weird because I don't like her form as of late. The Woodbine Mile, let's just throw out. She's not good enough and can't really get that distance. She definitely makes sense. I mean, when she's had some decent Keeneland success. She ran in the Giants Causeway in April. Her most recent race had won that. from the 5 post and the 7 horse field. I just think this 12 post is going to be extremely tough to win from. I know showing speed from the outside makes sense, but how about when you don't have that much speed? How about when you want to sit mid-pack? She's going to be wide throughout. And these types of races, when they're all good horses going short distances, you really need to be in a prime spot. And I just don't see her winning if she's going to be 4 or 5 wide out on the course. So I think for me, the talent's there, but this is a really bad post. She'll be breaking, I guess, from the 11 with 1 horse out, but that's the big reason for me that I'm choosing not to use her at 4-1.
And then finally on this one, before we move on to the last leg, thoughts on the 7? How hard is it to get to this horse? 7 is lead guitar. Third off the form cycle here. Last time out, finished second in a stakes at Saratoga. That stakes was not the greatest, though, and also over a yielding track. What did you think of the 7?
Well, to be honest, I kind of think she's got a shot, and definitely to hit the board. I don't know if you remember, we really, really liked Robin Sparkles a lot over the summer, who ran against Caravel, I believe, in another stakes race. I don't remember. It was like opening weekend maybe or something like that. We were really into that horse, and Piedi Bianchi went on to win out of that Smart and Fancy Stakes as well. I've seen much worse double-digit horses. I think that there are horses that are just better, but she's got a shot. Like, if she were to win, I wouldn't be sitting there like, you know what, she didn't look good. Like, I wouldn't say that. The biggest problem for me when I'm really breaking this down, she doesn't look the same as she did last year. So that's kind of where I'm at. Maybe she's just not as good as a 5-year-old, because last year I know she was running against much weaker, but she just looked like a better horse. She showed more speed and had a better kick. She did finish second in her only race here a long time ago. And even you could see, her 2020 form, she won 5 races out of 7 attempts. This year, 1 second in 2 attempts. No first, no third. So maybe she's just not as good, but I could see it, Dennis. I don't hate her.
All right. And then one more comment. 10 likes shorter distance for sure may fit today. Yeah, I mean, I think if you're going to go deeper in this race, those are, the 9, 10, 12. Those are the other ones to kind of consider. All right, let's go on to the 10th race. This will round us out today for the pick 4. By the way, much better closing leg today than yesterday. Yesterday was just brutal. I didn't even enjoy watching that race. All right, but we'll get to this one. 2-year-old maiden special weight here, going 7 furlongs on the dirt for fillies, obviously 2 years old. And a field of 10, I think this is a field of horses that I don't see anything that's just fantastic here. But it's going to be a competitive race, I believe. So, you've got 3 deep here. I went 4 deep once again, so I'll let you round us out.
Yeah. For the record, you went 2, 3, 9, 10. I went 3, 9, 10. The horse I have in 4th is the 2, Malibu Kendall. I just wanted to go deep in the first race. That's kind of where I'm at. I mean, the horses that I'm using it really have experience, and they've looked decent. I mean, the 3, I think, has one of the better races on debut and just didn't look all that great last time out. I'm not really sure what it was. It was about the same in terms of the pace and things like that. Just a half a furlong, but the performance kind of the same. Julian Leper maintains the mount. I don't really like any of these horses. But I do think that, like, the horses you're using, including the 3, 9, and 10, so the 2, 3, 9, and 10 are just a little bit better. The 9 I'm really interested in because this is going to be her second start. And then you have the 10 who ran second in the debutante stakes and then came back to Penny Saver. That's just a bad spot to bounce back in. You have to face Penny Saver. That's just unfortunate. She probably would have won that race had she not had to face Penny Saver. So unless there's a horse like Penny Saver in here, she's gonna have a shot as well. So yeah, I don't love any of them, but I just think the 3, 9, and 10 are a little bit better. The 2 also facing Jester Calls No Joy. That was a dominant race, winning by 10. So maybe she faced a monster as well. She's got a shot at 4-1 also. I, again, don't love anyone, but the horses that Aaron used is the one that I used. Just think a little bit better on paper.
Yeah, so Sydney chimes in and says one of the firsters will win. She's 3 deep. At first glance, I agree. I thought, well, these horses that have run aren't great, and I think one of these first timers is probably going to win. But when you do a deep dive into the first timers, and I'll kick it back to you real quick before I go over mine or the reasonings why I picked the horses I did. I try to make cases for some. It's like these horses don't look very good. They just don't. Did you consider any of the first timers?
No, and here's why. There, in your head, you have to try to decide how good you think this maiden special weight race is. I don't think it's going to be particularly that good. I don't think there's going to be any horses in here that were like, whoa, this horse is going to be special. I just don't have that feeling for this one. With that being said, I'm always going to go with experience. You have some days like Wit, who broke his maiden on Belmont Stakes Day. You kind of knew that horse was going to be pretty good. And maybe Wit's not as good as we once thought he was, even though he's extremely talented still. They just don't have that feeling here. So I'm always going to lean with horses that have the experience. If I have to pick one that doesn't, I would probably go with the 7.
Yeah,
good pedigree, getting Brennan Walsh. Again, not using that horse, so that's kind of tells you what I think. I just think that this is a type of spot where the experience is really going to play a factor, and all the horses that you're using as well obviously have experience. So that's just a big separator for me.
I'm worried a bit when it comes to the first timers about the 1 Cupid Strike. The horse, that was the one I almost got to. I don't love McPeak, but gets his top jockey aboard here at the meet, Brian Hernandez. Horse has been working pretty decent. I think the 1 Cupid Strike could be the one that can upset here, but I just couldn't get aboard. Big reason why, and I'll just start with the 2. I just feel like this horse can get better off that last race at Saratoga. Ran, like you said, Jester Calls No Joy into a monster there. Asmussen, Santana, I think the horse will run a little bit better. I also think from this inside post, I think the 2 gets the jump and I think takes the lead here. So I think the 2 will be the one they have to run down. And that's kind of another strike against the 1 Cupid Strike is a firster on the rail. That's always a tough ask, So especially when there's another horse with pretty good speed right outside, I could kind of see the 1 maybe getting buried if she didn't get out of there. So I think the 2 made a lot of sense here, running second out for Asmussen. The 3 Ocean Size, that's the one maybe that I could be talked out of and throw the 1 on instead of the 3. But, the horse does have 2 pretty nice races under her belt. So I could see the horse being competitive here, maybe improving, changing tracks over to Keeneland. The 9 for Brad Cox, kind of the same angle as the 2, just for Asmussen, just great connections and a horse that could improve. Last time out, the track labeled Wet Fast. Who knows? Maybe that had a little bit to do with kind of the slow start that pretty much ended up costing her once she didn't get position. The 10 Golden Sights reminds me a lot of the male version of, or the female version of Ingus, who won yesterday for Dwayne Lucas. Had a lot of races on the resume. It's like, yeah, I don't want to bet this horse in a maiden special weight where there could be decent horses in it. And he just kind of ran off the screen. The 10 Golden Sights kind of feels that kind of horse. I like getting back to 7 furlongs. Like I said, ran into a really, really nice horse last time out at Churchill. Back to the 1 turn, got speed figures that are a little bit better than anybody else. So I thought Golden Sights made a lot of sense as well. So it's a tricky race, though, in the sense that if one of these first timers can run a little bit, got a shot to win. No question about it. But I think we'll see enough improvement out of a couple of these horses that have started already that we get home in this league. I'm a little worried you didn't use the 2, but I get it. We'll see what happens here. I think the speed figure on the 2 is the only downside. That race did not come back strong from a speed figure standpoint. So we'll see if she's able to improve here. So, all right, Ricky, let's recap it. Let's recap the ticket here. We don't have a whole lot of comments on this race, so we'll recap and you can go first.
Yeah, I went deep in the first one, 4, 5, starting in race 7, 4, 5, 9, 10, 11. definitely that race where I'm looking for a price as opposed to race 8 where I'm just singling, using the 2 and the 5, putting those 2 horses above everyone else. It's kind of the experience versus non-experience, but there's a layoff factor as well. Race 9 just went 4, 5, and 6 there. I think Campanelle would love to have her air mileage number, because I'd be having free flights all across the country whenever I want. Coming back to the United States for the first time this year. Don't know if we're going to see her in the Breeders' Cup or not. I don't know what the deal is there. And then the 5 and 6 In Good Spirits and Catch a Bid. Pretty similar horses talent-wise, I believe, but one will try to be closer to the lead and one will be way out of it. And then in the last one, just 3, 9, and 10 for me. Again, don't love any of them, but those are the 3 most likely winners in my book with the 2 right behind it. So that's a 5x2 by 3x3 ticket. Comes out to $40 starting in race 7.
All right, yeah, I did the same thing, going 5 deep in this first leg, 2, 3, 5, 10, and 11. You guys talked me into the 11, and I think it makes sense to go 5 deep. Pretty wide open affair there. Single to 5, just think that the 5 a little bit better than everybody else in there, and I'm looking for another kind of step up from the 5. Bill Mott runner has been pretty good at this meet so far. And then go 4 deep in the last 2 legs with 1, 4, 5, 6, and then with 2, 3, 9, and 10. So $40 ticket for me, $40 ticket for you. So we're right around on that number there. So we try to get a winner to round out. We went 3 for 3 last week. We're 0 for 2 so far this week. So hopefully one of us can get it home. And then Sydney, here's her ticket, 5-10. And she also has singled the 5 in the second leg, like I have. 1, 4, 5, 7, and 9 in leg 3, and 2, 3, 5, and 7 in leg 4. So good luck to you on that one. You've taken a stand early in a couple of those early legs, and then spreading in the third and the fourth leg. So hopefully we're alive, both of us, going into that third leg, and then we've got a lot of coverage. So I listen. Even though we really haven't been close, I feel like we have in the same sense. We've talked about a lot of those horses. It's always harder when you get beat in sequences with horses you just barely left off. Like when one wins and I was like, I had that horse 8th. Well, too bad. But it's like you're 4 deep in the 5th choice wins. You're 3 deep in the 4th choice wins. That's when it gets really frustrating.
Yeah, the problem with this kind of sequence, like race 7, if I don't get a price, kind of like, all right, this is doomed to be quite honest, because then we're short in the next one, and the one after that we're probably going to get, for the next 2 we're probably going to get prices. We're not going to get prices. It's going to be shorter. So not the best sequence, a decent sequence. I actually enjoyed yesterday's sequence a little bit better, even though we weren't able to get it home, even though the last race stunk. By the way, I looked up the final time. It was much better in that last race. I thought it was going to be way worse. It was like 1:11 and change. So congrats to all those maiden claimers who slopped it up and made it a little bit recognizable there. But we have like 7 minutes to go. Do you want to get into quick football action of what you and your dad discussed yesterday? We can do college or NFL, or we can try to get it all in there together.
It's Friday, and that means Ricky picks football games at the end of the show. I had the banners ready, Ricky. You didn't even need to tell me. How about this one? TCU and Oklahoma. Oklahoma 13.5-point favorite, coming off the big win in the Cotton Bowl against Texas. How about it? Who are you going with here? Does OU cover for the second straight week?
No, I think I'm going to take TCU. Just it's a letdown spot. We don't know who's starting, which my guess, and maybe they both play. That's my guess. Is it official that Caleb Williams is going to start?
I mean,
I say they both take snaps, and maybe that's because Oklahoma's up by a lot, that Spencer Rattler takes snaps. I have a feeling both players get snaps, and I don't know when it's going to come, and I don't know who's going to start. I say both quarterbacks take snaps, and that's assuming one doesn't get hurt. I'm not using that.
Okay, if you think both quarterbacks are going to take snaps, you need to take Oklahoma, because there's no way Rattler takes a snap unless it's a blowout.
Well, I've just seen these situations, now not at Oklahoma, but I've seen these situations where they don't announce it, and then it's like, we're going to use both, and they're going to switch off. And again, Lincoln Riley's never had to deal with that in the past. It's like, this is my guy, and we go forward. I think that Caleb Williams should be starting, for the record. Let's just put that out there. Maybe if they both take snaps, it does mean Oklahoma was up by a lot. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'd still take TCU. I just think it's a letdown spot. And they score enough that if they're losing by 28 or something, and then they can make it close, kind of like the Eagles did last night. So I think that's a lot of points. And I've never liked Oklahoma to cover this year, so I'm not going to hop on that bandwagon now.
Yeah, Caleb Williams is going to start. That's almost a foregone conclusion. And Lincoln Riley said he doesn't really want to play two quarterbacks. Now, that could be Coach Beak as well. So we'll see. I'm taking TCU as well, plus 13.5. That's too many points, no doubt. All right, let's go Oklahoma State and Texas. So the loser in the Cotton Bowl, Texas, now a 5-point favorite at home against the Cowboys. Cowboys undefeated coming into this game. What do you think about this one?
I love Texas here. I think they really come out and really prove this is a completely different Texas team. And if I don't think a final drive or a final play really changes who you are. And what I mean by that is Texas really should have beaten Oklahoma, to be quite honest, and they were up by a lot. If they win that game by a lot, we're looking at this team as a 10-point favorite. Now they're only a 5-point favorite. I think this is a good opportunity while Texas is mad. I don't think Oklahoma State's very good. I don't trust their offense. I don't think Spencer Sanders is nearly as good as he was. He doesn't have nearly as much talent around him. So I'm going to take Texas and the Fighting Steve Sarkisians.
I'm with Texas all day as well. I think they're going to bounce back, play a really good game, and I think Oklahoma State is kind of fool's gold. I don't think they're that great. All right, Auburn and Arkansas, two teams that need to bounce back after losing. Arkansas, lost 2 in a row. Auburn lost last week. Arkansas is at home here. They're a 4.5-point favorite. 11 a.m. kickoff, I think, helps Auburn. But what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I kind of know what Arkansas is. I have no idea what Auburn is. They're just so inconsistent. Arkansas had every right to win that game against Ole Miss last week. And if they play like that again, they are going to beat Auburn. And I don't think it's going to be that close. I mean, Bo Nix might be the most mercurial quarterback in college football. He's great, and sometimes he's dreadful. He's going to have to be great to go on the road. So I'll take the Hogs.
I took Auburn plus the 4.5. I think this game will get tight. I think I'm not going to be surprised either way. I think Arkansas wins, but I think Auburn covers. So I took Auburn. About this one, Florida, an 11.5-point favorite as they go to LSU this weekend. LSU is kind of a disaster right now. It's rough down there, but 11.5, a lot of points. So where are you leaning here?
Yeah, I guess the Auburn point, you're just rooting for Tank Bigsby. I will be. I'm going to take LSU. I'm kind of with you. I just think it's a lot of points. LSU is a mess, and their defense is dreadful. No Derek Stingley. I think he's already ruled out. I just think that's too many. I really, really do. Like, if this team shows any pride, they can cover that number. It's a matter of how do they show up, because they still have talent. It's still LSU. It's not like it's a Syracuse team. They have talent. I just don't know how much heart they have. But with that being said, that's a lot of points. So I'm going to take LSU getting 11.5 at home.
I'm with you, and I'm with Dennis. I think that's too many points. I think that's way too many points. So I think 11.5, LSU is able to cover it. To me, and I talked about this on the show yesterday, it's like this is a pride game for LSU, right? Like they're at home. It's a team that in Florida they're good. I don't think they're great. You got to come out with your hair on fire, and you got to play with everything you got. And if they don't, they're done. So I think LSU is able to cover this one. Here's Georgia again, another massive favorite against a ranked opponent. This is a third straight week. Georgia, 22.5-point favorite over number 11 Kentucky. It's a battle of the unbeatens, both teams 6-0. I don't think Kentucky has a prayer to win the game. Can they cover is the question. I said no on the show. What do you think?
I don't think they're going to cover either.
Mm-hmm.
The way you cover is you got to get quick strikes, because the problem with Georgia's defense, well, not the problem for everyone else's offense, when you play Georgia's defense, you're not going to take this team 10, 12, 14 plays down the field. It just does not work. And that's the way Kentucky scores. Like, they don't have that Ole Miss quick strike type of offense where you can break a few. I don't see it. I think this is going to be a boring, like, 30-7, 30-3. I don't know. Georgia's offense isn't great. They should be able to score on a Kentucky defense that's going to be out there a lot. I think they kind of wear them out in the fourth quarter. I think Georgia kind of rolls.
I think 45-0. I think that's what it'll be. And Dennis, he's a big Louisville fan, and this is the biggest game in Kentucky football history in my lifetime. But he really wants it to be 76-0 Georgia. I think it'll be 45-0. That's my score prediction for this game.
You don't think Kentucky scores?
Nope, I don't.
Oh, well, I would love to take the over on a half a point for.
I'm not giving you that, but.
Well, I could find out. Do we know what the Kentucky team total is? I could find that out as we continue here.
But yeah, I'll throw up the next game you can talk about, and I'll look it up. Okay. North Dakota State rolls. Sydney says, "Yeah, we talked about North Dakota State a little bit on the sports show as well. What a program there at North Dakota State." All right, well, let's move on to another SEC game. Alabama going to try to bounce back this week. After a shocking loss to the Crimson Tide. I mean, I don't think anybody thinks the Crimson Tide are losing this game. Can they cover 17 points on the road at Mississippi State?
I think they will. Nick Saban team after a loss to Texas A&M, like the way against a lifeless Texas A&M team coming into the game. I wouldn't want to be an Alabama player at practice this past week, to be quite. So I'm pretty sure they come back and roll. And now we're in the situation for Alabama, like every game's a must win. If you still want to have any national title hopes, you cannot afford to lose again. And Mississippi State is pretty lifeless. The Kentucky total is 10.5. I probably lean under. Now, now I'm not comfortable in saying that because realistically, they need to score a field goal a quarter. Yeah, 10.5. I'd lean under. I want, when it's such a low total, you never know. Like a random fumble puts them in the red zone or something like that. But Georgia should roll. Yeah, and I think Alabama rolls too. I think we see a lot of teams. I think this is a pretty weak weekend in terms of college football, all things considered. There are a few games that are intriguing, like that Texas-Oklahoma State game, but last weekend was unmatched. So,
well, I agree. I think Alabama – in a big way. I mean, bounces back. I don't know what their team total is. I think they could get in the 50s in this game. I think they're going to be ready, and I think they're going to roll.
Yeah, Alabama by 100.
Yeah.
The crazy thing is they could win by as many as they want. It's just a matter of when do they start pulling guys. Probably. Well,
the deal is, though, their defense has not been very good. So that's kind of the one caveat to it. All right.
Their team total's 37.5.
30. Alabama's is?
Yeah.
Oh, that's my play of the weekend.
Yeah, I think they're going to roll. I think they're going to score pretty much a touchdown every first half possession, which could put them at 28-35 anyway. So,
gosh, their total is 37.5.
Yeah.
My goodness.
And they score. I mean, it's their defense that's dreadful.
They scored 38 in a loss last weekend, and they barely played the first half. They didn't even show up for the game, and they scored 38. So
Alabama's totals on the season. We'll start with that Miami game. 44, 48, 31 to Florida. 63, 42, 38. They've gone 38 in every game except for one, and that was Florida on the road, a game that they were winning the entire time, might I add. So,
yeah.
I think that's a pretty safe bet.
I would agree, man. I wish I would have put that on my top 5 plays because I think that is a lock. So watch that go the other way. All right, final game we're going to talk about. I've got it up there. Mississippi State and Tennessee. These two teams have just been insane as far as scoring points. As Dennis said, where's that comment? Dennis, the total in this game is 83. That's unbelievable. Mississippi State 2.5-point favorite on the road at Tennessee. Who you got here?
I would be taking the under. By the way, not relying on 83 points. I think Ole Miss, like, they score so much that you never feel like they're out of covering a game, and they only have to win by a field goal. And more teams than not are going to win by a field goal anyway if they're going to win the game. And looking at it, I think Ole Miss is just a better team. I really do like the way Matt Corral's played all year, except for the one Alabama game where they were just outmatched athletically. Don't really trust Tennessee either. Never have, never will. They have some athletes, but I think Ole Miss is a team to take here.
I'm going to go Tennessee just because I just don't know how much longer Mississippi gets away with having no defense and winning games like this. Like last week, they went 52-51 against Arkansas. I just think you go on the road and you get in those kind of shootouts. I don't know. I think it favors the home team a little bit. Call me crazy. I kind of think they might go over that 83.
Well, the last 80 number we saw was Ole Miss and Alabama, and that went way under. So the problem, realistically, think about this for a minute. They need to score 3 touchdowns a quarter and maintain that pace.
Yeah.
That's 83. Okay, both teams can't stop anyone. But what if you get one long drive? I don't know why there would be a long drive. They're quick drives for these teams, but one long drive and it's over. And the problem is you have to keep maintaining that pace. To ask a football game to have a touchdown every 5 minutes is a big ask. Yeah. So with no missed extra points, no foolery, no nothing. That's why I would take it. It's almost like okay, if you guys can do that, congratulations. I'm with that. What are the chances we're going to see a back and forth? Like the Ole Miss Arkansas game was kind of like that, where it was back and forth like the majority of the game. More times than not, like that Alabama Ole Miss game, it became really one-sided. And then when that team's up one-sided, they're just kind of running the ball and slowing things down. That's kind of what I see happening here. I don't get it. 3 touchdowns a quarter. That's right. That's accurate, right?
That's what he's saying. He says, you're the robot, Ricky. And he's saying he likes that because you broke it down.
Yeah, like I mean, well, that's a lot. Like, even in Madden, that's a lot. If we're playing a video game, that's a lot. Sure. I mean, that's realistically, like, 1 or 2 drives are going to be a long drive, or someone's not going to score on a drive. Like, 1 red zone turnover, and, like, your unders looking much better. So I would be taking it out of sheer number as well. So
sheer fear would be the best thing. It's like, holy cow, 83. I don't want to watch this game and at the start and think I need 83 points to cash a bet. I get it. This comment, yes, Dennis, here's the deal. I had never done a sports show. I've listened to a ton of them, but I'd never really done one. And our show is always kind of changing these first couple of months as I really get a feel for what exactly we should do. And Dennis's comment here is team totals in first half are great. I know you don't cover it on the football show that we do, but maybe you should. I agree. What would be better? We talk about a game and my dad gives a prediction of who's going to win, and then I give my prediction and we go on. Or I kick it to him. He gives his prediction on who's going to win. I'll quickly say agree or disagree, and then I'll get into more of the team totals, whether it be first half totals, whether it be team totals, whether it be over under on the whole game, and you get all the perspective of the game and you cover all the bets other than just one. I think it's a good idea. I've been thinking about that some as well, Dennis. So I think stay tuned. We might get into that a little bit more, just kind of a preview maybe of things to come for that show. So we always have meetings and kind of think of different ways to make that show as good as it could be. And it's like the horse racing stuff. We've kind of got it down. We know what we need to do. With this, it's still new and it's still kind of a work in progress at times. So I think that is a good suggestion.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I think people want winners. And if your best opinion or highest opinion is a team total, then that's what you give. That's just the way I've always looked at it. Horse racing's different because you can be a little bit more creative and you create your own wager as opposed to like sports betting. It is what it is. Like if an Alabama team totals 38, I can't just go to a sports book and say for the same price and say I want 24.5. I'm gonna have to pay a huge number to get it down to 24.5. So it's a little different, but yeah, I definitely think more different type of content is always a good way to go.
Well, I think you broke it down best. People want winning opinions, right? So if I look at that game and look at all the bets and think, well, Alabama 37.5 over, that's the one I want, and I give that out. Well, do people really care? Oh, he didn't give us who he thinks is going to win. No, it's a bet, and you win. And I think that's kind of the mistake I made. I structured it a lot like a horse racing show at first, and we have adjusted and changed some, and I think that's going to evolve even more as we go down the line. So yeah, I think I'm really happy with how that show's going, but I also think from a formatting standpoint, I've made some mistakes, and we're going to get better at it for sure. But yeah, I really appreciate everybody joining in on that show. We're having a lot of fun with it, and again, we'll make it better and better. You go listen to Blinkers Off the first 2 months we ever did that. You'll probably never want to listen again. It was bad. So we're off to a better start than we were there. So, but anyway, we'll keep on making it better, and I definitely think that show is just going to get better and better as we go on. So, all right, Ricky, that's all the college games we did. So we're going to sign off here now. Any final words for the people before we sign off for the week?
Bonus pick for you.
Okay.
Syracuse and Clemson, because it's tonight. It's a Friday night game.
Oh, okay. Let's talk it. Yeah.
I will try to be as objective as possible.
Okay.
First of all, please don't plan your Friday night around this game. That's for one. Please
Too
go
late.
find.
Already have. It's too late.
Well, no, I don't think you did. I'm only doing it because I have to. I feel an obligation when Syracuse is on by itself. Like Friday night, they're on by themselves. There's no other college football competition. I will be watching. They're 13.5-point underdogs at Syracuse, but the total's over only 43. So what Vegas is saying, something in that 30 to 13 range, 30 to 14. I would be taking Syracuse in the points. I thought they played a winning game versus Wake Forest, and they're going to be a chance that they played Clemson at home on Friday nights before, and they've had success. It's a lot of points to give when the total's so low. What say you? You're 13.5 getting the points for Syracuse, or do you want to be Clemson giving almost 2 touchdowns? I couldn't fault you either way because I don't trust Syracuse to put 2 games together. This is our bonus pick. I don't think this was covered on the Dudes Who Bet Sports. So this is our bonus pick here from the Rocket Hour.
It was covered by Papa Dude because it was one of his 5 best bets of the week.
Oh, okay.
He bet it yesterday at Syracuse plus 14.
So he got a good number. He got a good number there.
He got the number because it did go down this morning. I saw that. He bet it at plus 14 right after the show yesterday. He likes Syracuse. He really does. He said, listen, Syracuse is playing well. Their defense isn't horrible. Clemson cannot score. He thinks this game could be close. And he also remembers, and you brought it up on a show way back, well, not that far, 3 or 4 weeks back, Syracuse on Friday nights. They beat Clemson. So
yeah.
On a Friday night a long time ago.
They beat Geno Smith when he was at West Virginia. They were a top 25 team. Now this was Liberty, yeah. I don't know what it is about Syracuse on Friday nights, but they play a little bit better. It's not good football; it's just slightly better.
Yeah.
So are we all on Syracuse? Is that where we are?
I will lean with Papa Dude and take Syracuse plus the 14. Yeah, I think I will.
I'm just trying to think of the days where we would have a unanimous Syracuse pick because that would probably never happen. But also a Clemson over under would be 43. They used to put up 43 by themselves.
You would think a Clemson team would put up 43 at Syracuse, no doubt.
Right. I mean, I'll look at their team total now. It's not going to be impressive.
No.
28.5. I mean, if 28.5 to 14.5, if I had to choose there, I would take a better chance that Syracuse scores 15 than Clemson scores 29.
Yeah.
Like that 15 at home against a weak Clemson team. Like they're not a weak team, but for Clemson standards, obviously not good. There's something about this Friday Night Lights thing in the Carrier Dome. Very good, very, very good arena or dome now, by the way. Yeah. Many improvements that they've made in the dome. They actually have air conditioning now, so that's an uptick. All right, so we're all on Syracuse. Unanimous Syracuse.
I think Syracuse plus 14 is the best bet to make. I wouldn't touch either one of the team totals. I wouldn't touch the over because I don't trust that Syracuse offense that much, and I don't trust the Clemson offense at all. Yeah, I think Syracuse plus 14. I think that's the play. Yep.
Well, now that it's 13.5, would you still take it, or is that half a point a big deal for you? For me, I don't think it makes as much of a difference because I really don't like this Clemson team. Obviously, I'd rather have the 14 because if it's a 2-touchdown game, I tie or I'm pushing. Or would you be staying away now? Or do you think Papa Dude would have been staying away at 13?
I don't think so, because we logically looked at it. It's like, okay, they beat Liberty there at home. And then last week they played a Wake Forest team that's pretty darn good, and I'm not going to say they should have beat them, but they could have beat them. And the one thing you can say objectively about the game, no matter what the final score would have been, it was a competitive game throughout. They did not look overmatched in that game. They're going to go up against better athletes tonight, and I think offensively they are going to struggle some, but you can't tell me Clemson's going to just pound them. I don't think it makes much of a difference. I think I'd still take them 13 and a half.
For the record, this is probably going to be one of the more boring games you watch all weekend because both teams want to run or they're incapable of throwing. I highly advise you guys to find something better to do. I know the ALCS kicks off. Red Sox, Astros, watch that. Watch some hockey. I know there's only 3 games. Watch that. Watch Squid Game or something on Netflix. Try not to watch this game. I know it's tough, but try not to because it's probably going to be pretty bad. I actually was the same people I went up to Syracuse with asked me if I wanted to go again. They called me when they asked me Wednesday. They called and said, should we go back up for Syracuse Clemson? I didn't say a word. I just hung up the phone. Didn't say anything. They said, hey, what's going on? Yeah, I was thinking of Syracuse Clemson. Literally hung up and didn't say a word. And they said, what was that about? And I said, the fact you're asking me to go to Syracuse for a football game for the second weekend in a row is my way of saying no. Just the thought of that again. And this isn't Oklahoma where you try to get to all the games like once a year is enough for a Syracuse football fan. But Friday Night Lights. We got to come up with like a catchy the Friday night. I don't know. Friday under the dome lights. I don't know, something catchy. They're just better on Fridays.
They seem to be. Let's see if the trend continues. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. This is it could go either way type of game for me. I don't have a good feel for either one of them. All right. That's going to do it for us, guys. We're going to get off here. We went a little long. That's all right. It's Friday Night Lights football on the Ricky Rocket show. So we had to go a little longer. All right, guys, it's going to be another good weekend. We've been saying it over and over, and we're not lying. Go ahead.
For you. It has nothing to do with me.
Okay.
You have a clash this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
Kyler goes on the road to Cleveland. 2 Oklahoma guys. Well, not Oklahoma guys at first, but they left as Oklahoma guys. Where are we? From an emotional standpoint, not a betting standpoint. I just want to know who you're rooting for. Obviously, someone has to win and someone has to lose unless there is a tie. Would that be a perfect world where they ended in a tie?
No, I hate ties. I really can't go wrong with it, but I have learned this week that I like the Browns a little bit more than the Cardinals because I find myself kind of hoping the Browns win. So I would rank it as I'm a Browns fans first and a Cardinals fan second. Like I said, I can't go wrong. If the Cardinals win, they're 6-0. I mean, that's fantastic. And if the Browns win, it's a really big needed win after a loss. So
I think the Browns needed a little bit more.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. They need it bad, in my opinion.
Like the Cardinals lose, and my opinion wouldn't change. If the Browns lose, I'm starting to question them a little bit at home.
Yeah.
So that's I'm with you though, but it's really a no-lose situation. You're going to be excited either way, and hopefully it's a good game.
Because if the Cardinals go and beat the Browns, it's like they're starting to really look for real here.
Yeah, so this would be the test. Like I still have a few question marks. I do agree they've been playing the best football, I think, out of any team. But like this would be like, okay, now they're really a Super Bowl contender to me if they can go on the road and do it. They did go on the road to the Rams, but the Rams were just coming off that Patriot the game, against the Pats at home, and that was like a big deal. If they can go to Cleveland, it's like, okay, this is the best team in football, in my opinion. So a lot of storylines, but 2 Oklahoma guys I know you'll be watching head over heels. You'll be excited for 3.5 hours. I don't expect it to be a blowout either way. That's all. I just don't want it to be a blowout.
I'm really looking forward to this weekend because I am the OU game. I haven't looked more forward to an OU home game in like 3 or 4 years. Like
Are you going? Are you going to be there?
Of course.
I had to ask.
I'm a season ticket holder. Like, why would I not go to this one?
That's true. That's true. What was the last home game you've missed?
Well, minus COVID. You can't if you don't count the COVID.
Yeah. I don't count that.
Let's see. It would be 2015 was the last home game I missed. Yeah, and Kelby got married.
You don't get married in the fall. Someone should have told him that.
I missed my best friend's wedding one year because of a game. And I felt bad for that for a long time. And so when Kelby got married, I said, I'm not missing weddings for this. Like,
no, you should feel bad. Normally, I would agree with you and say, don't feel too bad. You should feel bad. You miss a best friend's wedding. Like, if it's your second cousin, like, but if it's your best friend,
now,
you feel bad.
Can I be fair about something?
Okay.
I did not want my best friend to get married to this person at all. Okay. Stop. No, let me explain. Let me explain the whole story, then you can comment. I did not want him to get married to this person at all. I hated this person. We had an intervention trying to get this person this is not Jared Welch, by the way. We had an intervention trying to get this person not to marry this person. He did it anyway, and now they're divorced. So
okay,
did I win?
No. After all that, you didn't win. What I will say, even though you might have been right, this is one of those situations where it's not about being right, if that makes any sense. Like, it's the sentiment behind it. Like, your friend, whoever it is, it's irrelevant, wanted to do this, obviously, and they got divorced. I assume the intention was not to get divorced at a certain time. Assuming that wasn't the intention of getting married,
right?
That's got nothing to do with you. It's like it's their day. Now, even though you were right, maybe helps you to think you were in a good place for not going. But at the end of the day, one would think you hope the best for your friends.
Well,
right.
I did hope the best.
You were right, but you didn't win.
I did hope the best for my friend. It still didn't work out. I hope the best that he would call it off last second. Yeah.
Well, no, that would have been the best because then you can still go to the game.
Yeah. No, and by the way, there's evidence that it's not Jared Welch because I was in his wedding. There's pictures of me, so it wasn't him. So. Well,
I just don't think you get married in the fall on the weekend.
Well, you don't, but that's just what it was. But anyway, then Kelby gets married years later, and I went, but he got divorced too. So
but again, that's got nothing to do with anything. It's like if you're someone, for example, like I only eat like if you're a healthy eater, I try to be healthy. Unless I'm like on vacation or something. But if I like don't eat, if I'm like, on my birthday, I'm going to eat whatever I want. I don't care. It's my birthday. And then I get sick because I had a steak and it was like undercooked or it didn't agree with me. That doesn't mean I did something wrong just because I waited for that day. It's like my thought process was right. Your thought process was wrong. For you to not go, it was wrong, even though you ended up being right. So, look, you live and you learn. I don't think you would ever do that again. I think when
I wouldn't.
Now, if it's a national championship game and it's someone you're not close to, okay, we have a different conversation. But if it's one of your best friends that you would do anything for, they can always reach out to you. Like they're like family, then you made a mistake. If it's like, this is someone I haven't spoken to in 7 years, different, all circumstances are different, but
I missed a cousin on Heather's side. I missed a wedding of hers for OU Texas. And I didn't feel too bad about it. And I talked to the husband and he's like, no, don't come. Like, it's OU Texas weekend. And they were already married too. And there was just like a ceremony to celebrate that they got married earlier. And it's like, I'm going to skip that one. I felt okay about it.
Well, would you skip a cousin on your side?
It depends on the cousin.
Okay. Well, I was going to say, if you said yes, then you sure as heck shouldn't care that it was Heather's family. That's my point.
Well, honestly, I'm probably more closer with the cousin that got married than a lot of my own. So it was a debate, but it was OU Texas weekend. Come on.
So that's where I draw the line. Again, I don't really have that with Syracuse sports, and I can't go to Raven games. But like once family gets involved for a wedding, like, all right, I kind of have to let it go. Now, if this was like a World Series Yankees game, I'm not going. Like, it is what it is.
Here's the problem. You can't get married in the summer because of Saratoga.
Oh,
You
that's
can't get
not
married in
true.
the winter. You can't get married in the spring. Can't get married on Derby. I mean,
No, you can get married over Saratoga.
no.
Yeah, you can. I mean, right. And then it gets to the point, right, where like when you can only get married like 4 weekends a year. I mean,
Yeah.
you got to cut it off somewhere. Because as far as I'm concerned, you wouldn't get married in the summer at all because baseball is that like, you know, you can't have it every way. I get what you're saying. Oklahoma, Texas, though, it's a pretty big weekend. It's like the Super Bowl for you guys in the regular season. So I get that. Yeah, again, to sum it up, you were wrong, but you ended up being right. So there's solace in that.
No, as you were talking, minus COVID, we've had tickets since 2000, and I've missed 2 games.
What was the other one?
My mom was in the hospital. She was sick. She's fine, but she at the time.
No, well, that's
okay.
Sick. That's a reason to miss a football game.
Well, and the deal is, she was kind of, by the time Saturday came around, it's like, oh, she's gonna be home by like Monday. Like, she's fine, but so we almost went. We're like, no.
Well, it's not a matter of in the moment, but God forbid, knock on wood, something actually happened. You would never forget that. Like,
No.
that would be living in your head the rest of your life, to the point where you almost want to stop watching Oklahoma football. Like, that's how much it would make you. It's not worth it.
They were playing South Florida. I remember that. It was 2002 or 3, maybe. I can't remember. It's been a while.
Well, I'd like to agree with you, but no matter who they were playing, I don't think it really mattered.
No, it didn't.
At that point.
It didn't matter, so.
I definitely think it's health, then marriage, and then everything else. Like, once someone gets like sick and they're like, it's questionable, maybe. I think that's when calmer, cooler heads have to come in and say, "Hey, pal, it's football."
Agree. Yeah.
Like,
so you know, you're right. 2 games there, wedding, and then mom in the hospital. So
2 games in your whole life that you've been a season ticket holder. That's a great percentage.
Yeah. I even went alone a couple times, but my dad was just so pissed he didn't want to go. So.
Yeah, so that's a different level. I don't think I could ever go to a football game by myself.
Well, now here's the caveat. When you're at the game, everybody that we sit by used to. A lot of people dropped out after COVID. I don't know where they happened to them. I don't know if I want to know, but used to, we knew every single person that we sat by because it's the same people every year. So
right. No, that's fair.
You didn't really go to the game alone. It was just a drive.
It's a pretty far drive though by yourself. Like,
it is. That's true.
Well, no, that's an insight. Again, I'd never experienced that, because to do that with basketball, like, you have the luxury, for Syracuse at least, you have the luxury of doing that. It's like the games are on Saturdays, 99% of them. For me, like on a Wednesday night when it's snowing, you can't really do that when they're playing Albany, or Siena, or it's like you can't do that.
I'd like to go to a lot of OU basketball games, but you're right, you just can't. And you're not going to drive all that way for a basketball game either. They don't last long enough. They're not a big enough feeling of an event.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing if they're like an hour away, I would go to almost all of them. Yeah. But for me, it's like 4 hours, and it's
too far.
And then you can't, like, at least even Oklahoma football, I don't know what you stay, but if the game's at noon, you can just come back right after it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Syracuse basketball, like on a Tuesday night, you gotta have to stay over. It just becomes an ordeal. But almost 90 minutes, so I'll try signing off now. I'll try. So let's see if this works. Go
ahead.
So that was it. We got a lot of information out there. Keeneland pick 4, plenty of college football picks. Aaron's bonus Cardinals Browns pick we got in there, and the reason as to why Aaron missed a wedding, which is still unexcusable.
Well, we learned that I was an asshole on this show.
Yeah,
today, so
that's okay.
Used to be.
Right. No, well, I'll still question it. But that's gonna do it for us on a Friday. It's absolutely beautiful here in New York, at least on October 15th. We are now officially 3 weeks away to day 1 of the Breeders' Cup, which is exciting. 21 days. It'll be another 3 weeks until the Classic, which is on Saturday. So that's going to do it for us. Almost 90 minutes of an episode. It was great that we got to talk through a lot of different topics. But that's going to sign off from for us. That is the last show on the Racing Dudes platform of the week. So that's going to kick it off. We'll be back on Wednesday covering Keeneland again, but there'll be plenty of shows on Monday. The Dudes Who Bet Sports will recap kind of what they saw, what they thought. The Magic Mike show will be on, I assume, again on Monday, kind of going through what they saw over the weekend, which isn't too much in the world of horse racing. 3 stakes between Belmont, Keeneland, and Santa Anita on Saturday. Just some stakes here and there. Nothing too big because it's the Breeders' Cup season coming up. But that'll do it for us. We'll see you guys next week. Everyone stay safe, stay healthy. Let us know what you're playing today or over the weekend. We'll be more than happy to hear it. Comment, questions, insights, anything you guys have for us. So again, thank you. Good luck this weekend. And more importantly, stay safe.